I went to induction center in Campground, Illinois, and the officer would describe what would lie ahead for us. And he said, most of you will go into artillery or the medics. But he says, this is silly. He says, well, I got to ask you if anybody wants to join the paratroops to let us know. And everybody laughed, and I stood up. I wanted in. Everybody laughed at me. To make a long story short, after 5 days, 3,500 gone through that auditorium. 3 of us volunteered for the paratroops, 3 out of 3,500. We started out with 300 to a company of men, and the normal complement's 130. And they would run us up this mountain. It's about 4 miles up and 4 miles down. And if you fell out with a pain in the side, you're out of the paratroops. And they kept that up every day until we were down to 130. We were all put on a Liberty ship. With one of my buddies, we never were real close, but we were good friends. But it happened as we were going under the Golden Gate Bridge to go overseas. We were sitting at the stern, and Bill said, Jim, you got to throw a coin in the water as you go under the bridge. That guarantees you'll come back. We both threw the dime under the bridge, but it only worked for one of us. Theoretically, we were in reserve, and we got a battle star for it, though we never did any fighting there. We were more or less waiting to be seen where we would be needed. And so finally we were put in boats, and we were brought up to the island of Leyte in the Philippines. And then came the most exciting thing, and what the History Channel show was about, the Los Banos Raid. There was a Japanese prison camp, all American and British civilians. These were people that were picked up by the Japs in all the islands right after the war started. And that word came in that on the morning of February 23rd, they were all going to be executed. And our general found out about it, so he told the G2, Colonel Mueller, to rescue him. To make a long story short, 123 of us jumped on the camp. There were 246 Japs. We killed and ran off 246. We saved all 2,147 from being executed. And the biggest problem was we were 25 miles into enemy territory. So while we were waiting, one of the attorneys decided, well, he's going to get more than one suitcase. If they could take all their belongings, we couldn't make it in 2 trips. So that was the reason for only one suitcase. So one of them went back and got something. Pretty soon they all started going back to get more. And Lieutenant Ringler got mad, so he said, set the barracks on fire, and that way they can't go back. That'll solve the problem. I went into this one barrack that I'd gone in before, and this barrack was for families. So I went through lighting each cubicle, setting them on fire. And when I got to this one cubicle, I saw this toy box, and I opened the lid, and inside were 2 little stuffed giraffes. And they're about that 5.5, 6 inches tall, and they were obviously homemade out of cloth. And I thought, well, what a wonderful souvenir this would make, so I kept them and put them on my shirt, and I left. About 8, 9 years ago, the History Channel found out about it, and I couldn't believe that it didn't get any publicity. So they did a 2-hour documentary. By now, not too many of us are still alive, but they found out about me, so they asked me to come out, and I did. And I appeared on it 7 times, each time talking about some incident. And one time I held up these 2 little giraffes, and I said, this is all some little kid had to play with for 3 years. Now we fast forward to March of last year, and the phone rang, and I picked it up, and I could tell it was an elderly lady. She said, are you Jim Holzem? Yes. He said, I've just now got your phone number. I've been trying ever since the History Channel show came out. And she said, Mr. Holzem, my name is Jenny Kyle. I live in Burlington, Ontario, Canada, and I was one of those you rescued that day. Mr. Holzem, those 2 little giraffes are all my sister and I had to play with for 3 years. And Mr. Holzem, she said, they were made by my mother's own hands. And she told me later she was going to ask me to send her a picture, but I knew what she really wanted. So I stopped and I said, look, we just moved into this house and they're packed away in the garage, in a box in the garage. But before the week is up, they'll be in the mail to you. And she called me about 4 or 5 times that month to tell me how happy she was to get those 2 little giraffes. She said, always said, made by my mother's own hands.